Imagine opening your refrigerator right now, thinking you're keeping your groceries safe and fresh, only to find out some of those foods are quietly turning into health hazards. It sounds absurd, almost impossible, but the science behind it is chilling, literally. Certain everyday foods react badly to cold storage, and those changes can affect not just taste and texture, but your gut, your heart, and even your brain health. If you're over 60, this matters more than ever, because your body is less forgiving when it comes to nutrient loss and chemical changes in food. Yet almost everyone in this age group is still unknowingly making these same storage mistakes every day. It's not your fault. For decades, we've been told that refrigeration is the gold standard for preserving food. But the truth is, for a surprising number of items, that chilly environment triggers a chain reaction, turning healthy staples into nutrient-depleted, sometimes even harmful, imposters. Some researchers even suspect that our modern obsession with keeping everything cold might be quietly contributing to the rise in chronic illnesses. And when you see what happens to these 9 common foods, you might think twice before sliding them into that middle shelf ever again. Let's start with potatoes. They seem harmless enough, sitting there in their plastic bag on the bottom fridge drawer. But the moment potatoes are exposed to that cold temperature, something happens inside them. The starch molecules start converting into sugar at an accelerated rate, a process scientists call cold-induced sweetening. This isn't just about changing the flavor. When you later cook those cold sweetened potatoes, those extra sugars combine with amino acids to create acrylamide, a compound the International Agency for Research on Cancer classifies as a probable human carcinogen. A University of Idaho study tested over 500 potato samples and found that within just 2 weeks of refrigeration, the sugar content had tripled. Yes, tripled across all varieties tested. And the texture suffers too. The cell structure starts breaking down, leaving you with a gritty, overly sweet potato that makes mashed dishes taste strangely off. The fix is simple. Store them in a cool, dark, well-ventilated spot, away from onions, because the gases from each will spoil the other faster. Done right, potatoes can last months. In the fridge, you're lucky to get 2 weeks before they're ruined. Bread is another victim of the cold, and here's where it gets counterintuitive. You might think that putting bread in the refrigerator keeps it fresher, but refrigeration actually speeds up staling by as much as 6 times. Scientists at the Institute of Food Technologists found that cold temperatures cause starch molecules in bread to recrystallize, pushing moisture out and making the loaf hard and crumbly in just a few days. That wonderful fresh-baked flavor, the volatile compounds that create it break down faster in the cold, leaving you with a slice that tastes like cardboard. The best way to keep bread fresh is at room temperature, in a bread box or paper bag that allows just enough airflow to prevent mold without drying it out. And if you can't finish it in a week, slice it and freeze it. Freezing locks in freshness without triggering that staling process, as long as you toast slices directly from frozen. Letting them thaw first is when things get soggy. Now let's talk about honey, nature's perfect food. This golden nectar never spoils, even after thousands of years. Archaeologists have found honey sealed in ancient tombs that was still perfectly edible. But stick it in the fridge, and you'll ruin it within weeks. The cold makes honey crystallize quickly, turning it into a grainy, semi-solid mess that doesn't dissolve well. Worse, refrigeration introduces moisture every time you open the jar, thanks to condensation. That moisture is honey's greatest enemy, degrading its texture and stripping away up to 1/3 of its antimicrobial properties, according to the National Honey Board. These are the very compounds that make honey a natural antibiotic and wound healer, benefits ancient cultures relied on for survival. Even the flavor changes, as the cold breaks down its complex profile of over 180 compounds. Keep your honey tightly sealed at room temperature, between 64 and 75 degrees, and away from direct sunlight. If it crystallizes, simply place the jar in warm water and stir. It will return to its smooth liquid state without losing its magic. Coffee lovers, brace yourselves. If you've been keeping your prized beans in the fridge to preserve them, you're actually destroying them. Coffee beans are porous and act like little sponges, absorbing the odors from everything around them. Leftover takeout, half-cut onions, that block of forgotten cheese in the back. The result? brewed coffee that tastes faintly of last week's leftovers. But that's just the beginning. The temperature fluctuations that happen every time you open and close the fridge cause condensation on the beans. That moisture accelerates staling, dulls the flavor, and can even invite mold. The Specialty Coffee Association found that refrigerated beans lose 60% of their aromatic compounds in just 1 week. And when the natural oils in coffee solidify from the cold, they don't extract properly during brewing, leaving you with a weak, lifeless cup. The answer is to store beans at room temperature in an opaque, airtight container and buy them in small batches you can finish within 2 weeks. If you must store coffee for longer, freezing is actually better. Just portion it out so you only thaw what you'll use and never refreeze. Garlic is another one you should never put in the fridge, and here's where the stakes get higher. Refrigeration doesn't just make garlic sprout those green, bitter shoots. It creates an environment where dangerous molds can grow, producing mycotoxins that are harmful to your health. A University of California Davis study showed that within just 10 days in cold storage, garlic loses half its allicin, the compound responsible for its heart-healthy, immune-boosting, and antibacterial benefits. Cold also wrecks its texture, breaking down the cell walls so it turns soft and pasty, making it harder to chop and less flavorful in cooking. Store whole heads in a cool, dry, well-ventilated place, and use broken cloves within 10 days. And remember, room temperature garlic not only tastes better, it releases more of its beneficial compounds. By now, you might be seeing a pattern. Cold isn't always your friend. And the next few foods on this list show just how quickly refrigeration can rob you of flavor, nutrition, and, in some cases, even safety. Bananas might be one of the most misunderstood fruits when it comes to storage. Put them in the fridge and watch them transform into something unrecognizable, blackened, mushy, and far less nutritious. What's happening is a type of damage called chilling injury. Bananas evolved in tropical climates, so their cells simply can't handle cold. The membranes rupture, enzymes spill out, and the fruit essentially starts breaking down from the inside out. This isn't just about appearance. A study from the Queensland Department of Agriculture found that bananas stored below 56 degrees lose up to 80% of their vitamin C in only 5 days. That's a staggering loss of one of the most important antioxidants for immune health, wound healing, and protecting your eyes from age-related decline. Worse, refrigeration halts the natural ripening process that would normally increase certain beneficial compounds. The blackened skin you see isn't just ugly. It's a signal that the banana's defense systems have failed. Inside, dead tissue can harbor bacteria and mold before you can even smell it. Bananas belong at room temperature, ideally between 56 and 70 degrees. Hanging them prevents bruising, and you can control ripening speed. Place them in a paper bag with an apple to ripen faster, or wrap each stem in plastic wrap to slow it down. Once they're perfect, you can refrigerate them for only a day or two, or peel and freeze them for smoothies. In fact, frozen bananas make creamier smoothies than fresh ones without needing ice. Onions are another food that should never meet the inside of a refrigerator, at least not while they're still whole. The high humidity in most fridges is around 95%, but onions need no more than 65% humidity. That extra moisture penetrates their papery skins and creates prime conditions for mold growth, including black mold that produces aflatoxins, some of the most dangerous carcinogens known to science. Even before mold appears, cold temperatures cause the onion's natural starch to convert into sugar at an accelerated rate. Researchers at Texas University found that within 2 weeks in the fridge, sugar levels jumped 270%. That might not sound so bad until you cook them. Sweetened onions can ruin savory dishes, making your French onion soup taste oddly like dessert. The cold also forms ice crystals inside the onion cells, rupturing them and leaving you with a soft, mushy bulb that won't caramelize properly. For the rich golden brown onions you see in restaurants, you need firm, room temperature produce. Store whole onions in a cool, dry, well-ventilated area, away from sunlight and, very importantly, away from potatoes, which release gases that cause each other to spoil faster. Cut onions are the only exception. Once sliced, they should be refrigerated in an airtight container and used within a week. Then, there are tomatoes. If there's one food that refrigeration completely betrays, it's this one. The damage goes far beyond flavor. It's genetic. Researchers at the University of Florida discovered that cold temperatures below 54 degrees actually switch off hundreds of tomato genes, including those that produce flavor compounds. Once those genes shut down, they never fully recover, even if the tomato warms back to room temperature. What's left is a fruit that looks like a tomato but tastes like watery cardboard. For seniors, there's an even bigger concern. Tomatoes are one of the richest sources of lycopene, a potent antioxidant linked to lower risks of heart disease and certain cancers. Cold storage can reduce lycopene availability by up to 65%, and without the enzymes destroyed by refrigeration, your body can't absorb the rest effectively. Under the microscope, the destruction is shocking. Ice crystals punch holes through the cell walls, turning the texture grainy and mealy. The proper way to store tomatoes is stem side down at room temperature, between 55 and 70 degrees, out of direct sunlight but not in total darkness. And never in a plastic bag. The ethylene gas they produce needs to escape, or you'll have a full-blown rotting disaster in less than a day. If you've got too many ripe ones, make sauce and freeze it. Cooking actually increases lycopene's bioavailability, and freezing preserves it perfectly. Finally, avocados. Perhaps the most tragic victim of refrigeration. These fruits are nutritional gold mines, with over 20 essential nutrients and healthy fats critical for brain health, particularly oleic acid. But put them in the fridge too early, and you start a process called lipid peroxidation, which turns those beneficial fats into harmful free radicals. Stanford researchers found that refrigerated avocados lose 90% of their antioxidant power in just 4 days. That's vitamins E and C, your anti-inflammatory, vision-protecting, cell-repairing allies, gone. Worse, the cold supercharges an enzyme called polyphenol oxidase, the same one that causes browning. In the refrigerator, it doesn't just discolor the fruit, it attacks the structure from within, breaking down cell walls and creating bitter compounds. The creamy texture turns stringy and watery, the fat's separate from the fiber, and what's left is something you can't mash into guacamole, no matter how hard you try. The solution is simple. Let avocados ripen at room temperature in open air. To speed the process, put them in a paper bag with a banana. Once ripe, they can go in the fridge for a day or two, but the sooner you eat them, the better. If you need to save half, keep the pit in, brush the flesh with lemon juice, and store it with a slice of onion in an airtight container. The sulfur in the onion helps prevent browning without affecting taste. When you step back, the bigger picture is sobering. These 9 foods, potatoes, bread, honey, coffee, garlic, bananas, onions, tomatoes, and avocados, are pantry staples for millions of people. But in the wrong environment, they don't just lose flavor or texture. They lose the very nutrients and protective compounds that keep you healthy as you age. That's a double loss. You waste money on spoiled or degraded groceries, and you miss out on the disease-fighting, age-slowing benefits those foods were supposed to deliver. If you've been unknowingly sabotaging your own nutrition every time you open the fridge door, now's the time to change course. The fixes are easy, sometimes as simple as moving a basket from one room to another. But the payoff could be huge. Better flavor, better health, and fewer risks hiding in your own kitchen. Imagine walking into your kitchen, looking into that familiar refrigerator, and realizing it's been quietly working against you for years. Not because it's broken, but because no one ever told you that certain foods you've been eating for decades, simply don't belong in the cold. For many seniors, that realization is unsettling. You start thinking about all the times you've eaten grainy tomatoes, stale bread, or a banana that looked fine until you bit into it. But the real damage isn't to your taste buds, it's to your body. Every nutrient your body gets is like a deposit into your health bank account. Calcium strengthens your bones, antioxidants guard against cell damage, Healthy fats keep your brain sharp. As we age, those deposits matter more than ever because withdrawals, bone loss, inflammation, muscle decline happen faster. But when refrigeration quietly strips away those nutrients, you're left trying to fight the battles of aging with a fraction of the resources you thought you had. It's not just disappointing, it's dangerous. A potato that's been sitting in your fridge for weeks isn't just sweeter, it may carry a potential carcinogen. That jar of honey in the cold isn't just crystallized, it's lost a third of the natural antibacterial power that used to help protect your immune system. Think about coffee. Many of you start your day with it, and it's more than just a morning ritual. It's a source of antioxidants that support heart and brain health. But after a week in the refrigerator, 60% of those aromatic, beneficial compounds are gone, replaced with stale, odor-soaked beans. Or take garlic, nature's own heart medicine, cutting its active compounds in half in just 10 days of refrigeration. That's like tossing away half your prescription every week without realizing it. And avocados? Losing nearly all their antioxidant power in less than a work week should make anyone think twice before tucking them into the cold. The science behind these losses is clear. Cold temperatures change the chemistry of food. They can convert starches to sugars, damage cell walls, deactivate genes, encourage mold growth, and destroy fragile compounds like antioxidants and enzymes. And for seniors, whose immune systems may already be less responsive, whose bones may be more brittle, and whose joints may be more inflamed, these changes aren't just academic, they're personal. But here's the part that should give you hope. You have complete control over this. Unlike so many health challenges that require expensive medication, invasive procedures, or complex treatment plans, this one can be solved simply by knowing which foods to keep out of the fridge. You can take action today, right now, to protect your health and your groceries at the same time. Move those potatoes into a cool, dark cabinet. Keep your honey in a sealed jar at room temperature. Let your tomatoes breathe in open air. Buy smaller amounts of coffee and store it in an opaque container on your counter. Hang your bananas. Give your onions space away from moisture and potatoes. Keep garlic in a dry, ventilated spot. Watch your avocados ripen on the counter, not in the cold. You might be wondering, will these small changes really make a difference? The answer is yes, and faster than you might think. Within a week, your coffee will taste richer, your bread will stay soft longer, and your tomatoes will actually taste like tomatoes again. But more importantly, over months and years, you'll be keeping those vital nutrients intact. Nutrients that support your heart, brain, bones, eyes, and immune system. That's the kind of difference you can't measure in days, but you can feel in your energy, your resilience, and your quality of life. And don't underestimate the psychological side of this. There's something deeply satisfying about taking control of your own health in such a tangible, everyday way. It's a reminder that even small, consistent actions done with knowledge and intention can add up to big results. Especially in our later years, it's easy to feel like life is happening to us, that our choices matter less. But this is proof that they still matter, that you still have power over how you feel tomorrow, next month, and even years from now. So here's the challenge. Over the next 24 hours, go into your kitchen and take inventory. Look for these 9 foods. Ask yourself, how many are in your refrigerator right now? Then, one by one, give them a better home. It won't cost you a dime, and it may just give you back flavors, nutrients, and health benefits you didn't even realize you were losing. The sooner you make the switch, the sooner you'll stop letting your fridge rob you in silence. And here's something worth remembering. This isn't just about extending the life of your groceries. It's about extending the life of your health. Every time you keep a nutrient from breaking down, you're giving your body the tools it needs to fight aging, resist illness, and keep moving with strength and confidence. And that's something every one of us, no matter our age, should be fighting for. You don't need to throw everything in your fridge away, and you don't need to live in fear of every meal. But by knowing the truth about these 9 foods, you've armed yourself with the kind of knowledge that can make a real difference. Not just in the flavor on your plate, but in the strength in your step, the sharpness in your mind, and the years you get to live them both. Now that you know, the question is, will you keep doing what you've always done, or will you make a few simple changes to protect the health you've worked a lifetime to build? Because the truth is, the best time to take care of yourself was yesterday. The second best time is today. And it can start with something as simple as moving a potato out of the cold.